Okay, so in accordance
Okay.
with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law relating to the 2020 novel coronavirus outbreak emergency, the February 27th, 2024 at 7 p.m. public meeting of the Norfolk Board of Health shall be physically closed to the public to avoid congregation. Alternative access to this meeting shall be utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software, which will allow users to view the meeting and send a comment or question to the chair via the chat function. Submitted text comments, questions may be read into the record at the appropriate points of the meeting if they are in line with the town's public comment policy. The meeting will be recorded for future broadcast by Norfolk Community Television. All right, we're all set to go.
All right, so we're going to start with the policy for the potluck. I know, Christy, you weren't on last time, so we were kind of waiting for you so that all three of us could talk about the policies. So now we're still
we're missing
got
Andy.
But did you have a chance to review it? And do you have any questions or comments or?
I did. I think my only comment is around the that first bullet point of they are events that occur infrequently throughout the year, for example, 3 times or less. So is the rule 3 times or less? Like that, to me sounds very vague. You know, like I could say that I think 6 times a year is infrequent, so I just don't know if we should say that the rule is 3 times or fewer per year versus the vague infrequent with an example of 3 times or less. Am I the only one who reads it that way?
Oh, I don't disagree with you. I think the more black and white it is, the less debate there will be. And if there has to be some time where you have to review it because of something, I would agree with that. But I guess we can see what Andy thinks when he comes on too. But I like the specifications about the food prepared in a residential kitchen cannot be brought into a kitchen of a permitted food establishment. I think that hits the nail on the head with the issues we were having that brought this all to light. Did you have any other comments?
No, I think that like overall compared to like the first version that we saw, like I completely understand wanting to use the same terms as they're using in like the mass health and the state laws. But to me, this seems much easier to digest as like a layperson who has never read any of those, so that hopefully it wouldn't be as confusing to people. That was kind of my biggest takeaway, I think, of the updates and where it is today versus like the first one that we saw.
I agree. I definitely agree. It's more, like I said, black and white. I don't know. John, do you have any comments on it?
Yeah, so I think Christie's analysis of it's a little bit easier to read for someone who doesn't read code all the time. I think that's the intent. So I think that comes across. I think we've addressed the board's concerns over the last few months and how we've tweaked it. I just wanted to comment on the discussion about infrequent. That was an attempt to kind of accommodate where the sources we're taking this from originally said a one-time event. So, there's not really a definition, but we were trying to find a way to say, is twice a year enough? Is 3 times a year enough? Or is once a year? And I think that was the intent in saying, for example, three times a year. But that's the only comment I have, the feedback on that. But I think it was just a way to address the one-time event original document.
Yeah, because I think to the point, like a one-time event to me isn't even annually. So even if we went back to once a year, that gives a little bit more latitude than a one ever time that it can happen.
Sure.
So I like the specificity of like including that as opposed to just once ever. I just think we should decide what that number is. Is it once a year? Is it 3 times a year? I just don't want to get into someone coming back again when they're having something for a 4th time and trying to get around it because, well, I still think that's infrequent.
Sure. I get that. And right, it's kind of hard because I think there are places where it occurs weekly, which I would say a reasonable person would assume is frequent, right? And other places where it occurs monthly. So it might be important for the board to decide what that frequency is.
I mean, like, I'm even comfortable, I guess, Liz, I don't know what you're sort of thinking on it. If I looked at something, if you wanted to say 3 is kind of an odd number to me, I guess I would say 4 if you're saying like once a quarter something could occur, or if you're going to say 2 every 6 months. Makes more sense to me than, so it's either like, to me, it's 1, 2, or 4, I guess. 4, maybe that's going to get out of control. I don't know, John, if you feel that could become too large.
To me, I think that's more than like I think your position is reasonable. I think more than 4 starts to get questionable, but I think that makes sense the way you put it out there.
I agree. The 4 is, quarterly. It seems more than 3 times a year. That's an obviously odd number, but makes it difficult, more difficult. But I think to meet in the middle, kind of be reasonable to say 4. I guess we can see if Andy, when he comes back on, if has any further comments or if he disagrees wholeheartedly with anything. And then we can move forward with it. Is that right, Betsy?
Yeah, that would be awesome. So
And
that's
then Betsy will do a dance when the meeting's over. We don't have to talk about it next month.
You did a good job making it user friendly, easy to read.
Thank you.
Because I looked at some of that stuff and I didn't like reading it. I would rather read medical book than read those things.
Agreed.
But it's because that's what you know. So like the medical books make more sense to you.
I know, but I felt like every section you go in, there's like a little nuance to it that made it, am I not understanding this to the fullest? Because
Well, because the mass general law was so vague. We were just hoping to create a policy that would would be easy to follow. So I'm hoping that this accomplished that. I guess we'll find out.
John, can I ask you a question of,
Sure.
So when this passes, if this passes, say at today's meeting, sort of what are the next steps for the many number of things that have now been citing to you, we're a potluck, like, how do you have to move forward with that?
Sure. I think, I think there's some educational component, we for sure get it up on the website, maybe do either email or mailing to the groups that we know are using this to kind of give them a heads up. We have, I think Betsy already put up resources, such as, cooking for groups in volunteer organizations, and we can make them aware that that's there. And then I think, probably the best way to apply it is that, we don't go out and say, you have to do this tomorrow, that we establish some kind of time frame, 6 months or something like that. That gives people time to come into compliance. And and if some education needs to occur on, probably some of these groups are well-intentioned but not really familiar with the food code. If we need to do a little bit of education, like, we would work through that, and which I think we do in general anyways. Does that address what you're asking?
Yeah. I just want to make sure that however we're communicating it to these groups is that, like, the reason that the board is making this update and change is not to make things more difficult, but like the intention behind it is the safety of the community and that sort of thing. Because
Yeah,
I can just imagine if I was a person doing one of these dinners that, look at it that they're just rules in place, or so I'm just the communication around it, I guess, was my concern.
Sure. I would agree with that. I think I mean, that's the point, the whole point. So we should be able to communicate that along with the policy.
Are there any more comments on this issue? All right, then I guess, John, you're still up, right?
Oh, sure.
Health agent updates, food establishment inspections.
So I have a little bit broader update, but I can fill you in on some of the things that are going on. So I'm currently reviewing a HACCP plan for a food establishment that is using reduced oxygen packaging or vacuum packing. So they need to develop they've submitted a plan. They need to come back with a few more items for it so that they can do that safely and sell those products. We've had a couple of mobile food establishments that have pulled one-day event permits. So we've reviewed and approved those. We had a temporary event that I went out and inspected, I think it was 2 weeks ago. We have another one coming up this weekend that I'll go out to. We have a plan review that's currently working its way through the office. We met with the potential operator. Betsy gave him the plan review application, and so we've started to review what his plans are and gave him some feedback on additional items that we'd be looking for. Recently had some trainings. The state is starting to roll out a new training platform for health departments. So I participated in a housing training for that, and that led to a contact that training led to another training about preparing for housing court. And then there was a Title V training last week, which Matt takes care of the Title V, but I need to keep up my CEUs to keep my Title V credentials. And last week I also had the chance to participate in what they called Advanced Food Inspector Boot Camp, which was the Association of Food and Drug Officials. So a little bit of a deep dive on food safety items.
Get a boot camp for everything.
Yeah, right. At least it wasn't too physical, so that was okay.
Oh no, you didn't have to.
Really, I
climb
picture
any
like lettuce
ovens,
throwing, like diving away from iceberg lettuce heads or something.
That'd probably be fun, but but it was good. It was stuff that we don't see every day, but things to look for. So that was really good. It was interesting. One of the discussions was about foodborne illness in plant-based foods, which a lot of people assume plant-based are safe items. So they kind of talked about what pathogens we're going to look for there. That was really interesting. So that's pretty much it. I continue to do the routine inspections and re-inspections.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think Matt is up. Is he? I see him. Matthew up for
Yep, Matt's there.
updates.
He's not gonna turn his camera on. He had a little eye problem, so.
A little bit of an eye injury, so my apologies. I can actually finally start to see now. So
Did you go to a boot camp too? Is that what's this happening here?
you should see the other person. No, just had some grit end up in my eye on Sunday and didn't go too well for the last couple of days, but on the mend. I did attend, like John had said, the Title V seminar last Wednesday, which was actually pretty good. They had some discussion regarding nitrogen aggregate plans, which we do have quite a bit of with our town wellheads and in Zone 2 districts. So just good to hear some updates on that, and some innovative and alternative technology updates as well. So just always a good refresher on things that we don't do often, but when we do, it's important to make sure they're done right. Perk tests have actually been coming in quite a bit now for repairs and some for new, which is good. Part of the course for the time of the year. So we're starting to get those plans in, and as such, inspections are starting to pick up as well. And I do have the 2 variance hearings tonight, and I believe I'll have at least 2 for the next meeting as well. So just some obviously our groundwater is extremely high, probably the highest it's been in over a decade. So that's causing a little bit of trouble with some of the perks and getting them done. But it's important that we make sure the systems are properly raised out of the groundwater. So it is a good thing.
Andy,
And then just some of the lots that we're doing repairs on and upgrades to are just small lots with a lot of restrictions between wells and wetlands and just small lots with property lines. So we'll have some coming in as well. Other than that, everything's been moving forward. Do you have any questions?
Andy is trying to join us, so
Perfect timing.
it is great timing. And as is Jimmy Neva from Dunn McKenzie Engineering, he's our perfect. We're at least something is going in my favor tonight. Hey, Andy, good time, perfect timing.
It's on mute, I think.
There we go.
There you
Sorry
go.
about that.
That's okay.
Where are we in the agenda?
So
We're waiting for you. We were at new business. We were down to Southwood Hospital, Dedham Street update and Buckley Man property update, and then we can go back to the potluck if you have issues to discuss.
Okay. I can quickly, there's a report due hopefully in 3 weeks for Southwood. And Buckley Man, nothing. However, I understand that there's been some new wetlands flagging down there, so I'm not quite sure what that is. But, we'll see. So, okay.
And then, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and we talked about the policy for the potluck meals. We just had a discussion about the frequency of the example of 3 times per year and whether, we should make it quarterly or have some sort of finite number, not to leave it up to as an example 3 times a year because it's too vague, basically.
So essentially you're trying to avoid having it 3 days in a row or
like multiple times per year, because
Yeah,
it was before we were saying 1 time only. Now it's, an event so many with frequency. So it says an example 3 times per year. So we were saying maybe 4 times per year, since that would be quarterly, and seemed reasonable to Christy and John and myself. We didn't know what your thoughts were.
No, that
And just
makes sense.
maybe removing that, oh, sorry, Andy, just removing that word like occur infrequently, because that can be so interpreted.
Yeah, it's because frequent for me is probably different meaning for someone else, so that's understandable. Yeah, I don't know. That the the number of times per year. I mean, I'll be honest with you. There's 2 potlucks that I go to a year, and both are in the same location, but they're held in different venues. So, that's kind of what I look at. And but I realize that sometimes you have quarterly events, and that I think that would be pretty reasonable if you plan for them quarterly. And if there's a need to do it more frequently, I guess maybe cross the bridge when we come to it. How does that sound?
Sounds reasonable to me.
Okay.
Chrissy?
Oh, she's
Yeah,
muted.
me too.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
So just to be clear, so your proposal is to change that sentence to say these are events that occur.
At a maximum of quarterly or a maximum of 4 times per year?
I would say quarterly. I would say quarterly. So there's the opportunity to be spread out a little bit.
These are
But
events
does that make it
occur-
safer that I'm going to have my 4 events once a quarter, or I'm going to have my 4 events 4 days in a row? Like, that's just what my would be as to like, why do my 4 qualify just because they're closer together?
Yeah, I think we're trying to set guardrails, for lack of a better word, and trying to put some resemblance of some parameters that it's not so. I mean, it's so we don't have someone has it 4 days in a row, and chances are the chicken dish they brought on Monday is being served again on Thursday. I mean, I think that's that's sort of a kind of a perverse way of looking at it, but I think that's sort of the one thing I think we want to avoid, of having food that was prepared one day comes back a third and fourth day. And if that's the case, I think that's one thing. That's one way we may have to look at a revision down the road if it happens that people are saying, well, can we do it?
So just, Andy, on that note, I am, under recommended practices, the last bullet item, it does say leftovers should be discarded.
Okay.
I personally think it's too specific to do quarterly. I mean, what if people do like something 1 a month over the holidays or something like that? I think 4 times a year is reasonable. I don't know if we need to separate it by quarterly, because then I think we're splitting hairs then.
So John, maybe you can help us here. So that sentence then maybe amend it to say these are events that occur no more than 4 times per year.
Yeah, I would say either no more or up to 4 times a year.
Okay, that occur up to 4 times a year.
Yeah, because I believe there are going to be people who plan for 1 or 2 a year, right? So they don't have to do it quarterly. And I think, just my opinion, if you pin it to quarterly, I do think that there are probably groups that might do something 2 months in a row, even though they're 30 days apart.
Great.
I think Andy's right about the guardrails, but it's going to be really hard to define that you can only do something 90 days apart. And groups are going to do things, either based on holidays or anniversaries or things like that might not fall into a 90-day time frame. So I think if we're limiting it to 4 times a year, we say up to, I think we're going to eliminate the events that are happening 4 weeks in a row, although potentially that could happen. It just seems unlikely.
Okay.
That's just my thought on that.
Okay. Again, if we need to revisit this in the future, and we're finding that there's a real hardship, obviously the person who has the hardship is going to have to sort of explain themselves. And I think that's something we'll have to, I think it'd probably be best to address that when that comes up. And I am anticipating that we will probably be rehashing some of the older issues that we've heard and just on the function home or the function hall or the place that the meals are being served. I don't think we've addressed that, but again, it's a start. It's a start, and I can't lose sleep over someone if someone wants to talk about it, fine, we'll talk about it. But there are ways to get a temporary food permit. And if that's the case, you have to get the temporary food permit. So it's not like we're restricting, we're forbidding any type of food or food function at all. So that's kind of my roundabout way of thinking through this. So, okay. So Betsy, are we set? Do you want to read it? Or do you want to, or do the board members, do you want to vote on this tonight? Or vote on the final draft and then the next meeting make it final, or what are the thoughts? I know we've been going back and forth on this for a while, but I think we definitely need to get closure, at least take the first big step to getting it closed.
Why don't you might want to see if there's any comments from the audience.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll open the floor if there's anybody that has any thoughts or comments on this. We'll entertain them. Seeing nobody's raising their hand, no comments. Okay. So at this point, let's take a vote on we're going to call this a draft policy until the next meeting, or
I say go for it.
I do too.
okay, fine. No, I just hope the other board members realize that we may have to be revisiting this at some point in the future.
And again, it's a policy.
It's inevitable.
A policy. It's more of a clarification, a guideline per se. So,
I feel like I'm aware it'll probably need some tweaking because everything does, but I feel like we've repeatedly rehashed it, so I would like to vote on it if we can.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
As we amended it tonight, so.
Okay. So for there's no other further discussions or questions or comments from the board members and the audience. We'll take a roll call vote on the policy for potluck dinners and meals. And Andy Bakanowski, aye.
Liz Gephardt, aye.
Can you back that up just one more?
Oh, sorry.
Somebody needs to make a motion and then second it, please.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
It's okay.
Can I make a motion to accept the revised potluck meals and dinner policy that we spoke about this evening?
Second.
Okay. And all in favor say aye. Andy Bakanowski, aye.
Liz Gephardt, aye.
Christy Burns, aye.
Okay, it passes.
Wonderful. I can go do my dance now.
All
right. So
Thank
actually
you.
moving on to our 7 o'clock public hearing for local request for local upgrade approval for 294 Main Street. With Jim Neva from Dunn McKenzie is here. Andy, do you have that preamble in front of you?
I do.
Awesome.
And I will read it. A variance hearing from the Board of Health Regulation is called to order for 290 Main Street. It is my duty to inform you that you have to provide the Board of Health with data to support your request for a waiver of the Board of Health requirements, and that if you do not receive the waiver, it will do you manifest injustice. You will also have to show that what you intend to do is environmentally acceptable. And with that, I will give
Jimmy,
Jim
you are on. And you're muted.
Still.
Still muted, Jim.
Betsy, can you unmute? You can unmute him, can't you?
Let me see if I,
Usually the host can, I think.
You can ask people to unmute. You can't always
Ah.
just unmute them.
see, I'm gonna ask.
But that'll pop something up on his screen.
Right. Oh, you're still muted, Jim. Oh, I don't know, Jimmy, you're still muted. Let's, Matt, maybe, can you maybe give an overview of the project until Jimmy gets his,
Sure. So the property is located at 294 Main Street. It's an existing two-bedroom dwelling. And we were out there about a month and a half ago to do some perk tests. The soils were actually very good. We did have a less than 2-minute per inch perk rate. So in terms of the size of the field, it'll be the smallest that is possibly allowed. However, which is good with the property constraints. However, due to that fast perk rate, our local regs do require a further setback to potable wells. And I believe that there are 2 wells which they're looking for a variance for. The first well is 102 feet, not the 150, and the second potable well is 101 feet. I believe the first one that's 102 feet is the well serviced by the property itself. The other one is at 292 Main Street. Title V requires 100-foot separation, so it is within the Title V's regulations, but it is not within our local regulations. They're also looking for a Title V local upgrade approval or variance for the setback to a lot line. On one side, the soil absorption system is looking to be reduced to 5.7 feet from 10 feet. And then the other isn't necessarily a variance, but it's utilizing a Presby enviroseptic field for the SAS. The state has a provisional approval for reduction to groundwater for Presby for general use for down to 2 feet instead of the 4 feet or 5 feet, depending on the perk rate. So it really isn't necessarily a variance that needs to be granted. It's already allowed per DEP, but it is just good to know that that's what they're using. And I believe that is all that they are asking for. The property has a failed cesspool, I believe. So any improvement or any new system will certainly be an improvement to protect the groundwater and the environment. And should the board grant the requests, approve the requests, the homeowner will just have to have a document recorded at the registry of deeds that signifies that an innovative and alternative technology system has been installed on property, which would be the Presby enviroseptic bleaching system. So that's all I have. I reviewed the plan. I have no issues as it's drawn. And given the site constraints, I know I talked with Jim on when we were on site and after the fact, and it's the best system in the best location that they can get to reach the maximum feasible compliance for the site.
Matt, one quick question for you. Any issues with the well setbacks? For some reason, maybe it was just a preliminary one I saw when I was in the office talking with Betsy about there was a well, the 100-foot setback for the wells. Was that crossing the septic system? at one point? Or is was that some of the design changes that have been made?
The existing cesspool is much closer to the wells than the proposed system.
Okay. Okay. And what about the neighbors? What about the adjacent property?
So the
Was that
adjacent, so the adjacent property at 292 Main Street, they also have a well. They will be, I believe, coming into our next meeting in March. They are also will be putting in a new septic and will also be looking for similar requests. There is town water available at 292 Main Street, but the cost is almost prohibitive to tie in. So they'll be retaining their well. I know when I looked at the proposed plan for 292, we had a little discussion as to whether they can maybe move and re-drill the well to get, a better separation. And there really is just no real good place to put the well that would make any difference as far as the setbacks. So
okay?
This is about as best as what can be done for the site.
Okay. And I guess the other question is, by approving this septic system, do we create a hardship for the adjacent property?
No.
Okay. 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 Because
I just have a question in the document that was attached about 294. In some places it references a 2-bedroom dwelling, and then in other places it's referencing a 4-bedroom dwelling. Which is it?
Yeah, I just noticed that. I must not have saved my final draft before I had sent it out and signed it. It is a 2-bedroom dwelling. That's my error. My apologies. I will correct that for the file tomorrow.
I can notice other people's errors, never my own, when I have a document that is missing something.
Matt, I just have a question. They do need, I know they've got to do a deed restriction for no garbage disposal and the Presby system, but we also need to include a deed restriction for 2 bedrooms.
Yes, I think, is that part of the Presby's? I wasn't sure if that was part of the Presby's deed restriction or not, but if it's not, then that'll have to be added as well.
Okay, we can work on that administratively.
No, yeah.
Jim, now that you've got unmuted.
Yes. Thanks, Matt. Thank you for handling it, Matt. That was nice. Yeah, we tried putting this system, this is the smallest system we could put to satisfy the property. So, like Matt said, we're trying to make the property or make the system or property better for the environment. So, I don't know. So we're gonna have to put a deed restriction on a 2-bedroom. Is that correct?
Yeah, but I'll draft a document with Matt. It can be one deed restriction. Will include the deed restriction for the Presby 2-bedroom and the no garbage disposal.
Okay. Yeah. So
Anybody have any other questions?
That's it. Just one question procedurally, and from the other boards I've sat on, when we have deed restrictions or something that we filed that limits a use.
You keep going in and out.
Oh,
Andy.
I'm sorry. It's must be I'm actually in Matt's office, so I'm trying to be as close as I can to the computer.
It's a great office.
It is. But anyways, the question is that is there a set number of days that the Board of Health needs to get the deed filing, or does that wait until occupancy?
So typically that will need to be done prior to prior to us issuing a certificate of compliance at the end of the project.
Okay, okay, okay. So good enough then. Just want to double check. I wasn't quite sure since I think I probably was sleeping when Cheryl was chair and we did a couple of these. So I'll be honest with you. I just don't remember what we did with when we've done these before. So okay, good. Thank you.
Yep, and I'll take care of that in the office.
Okay. So can I get a motion to accept the septic system rebuild for 290 Main Street?
Make a motion to accept the rebuild at 294 Main Street.
And I'll second that.
Second.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Andy Bakunowski, aye.
Liz Gephardt, aye.
Christy Burns, aye.
Okay. Good. Okay. Jim, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you
thank
for
you,
your
Jimmy.
time. Yep,
talk
thank
to you
you.
later.
Have a good day.
You
Yep,
too. Have a good night.
you too. Bye-bye.
Andy, is it okay if we let John go? Are we done with him?
If John wants to talk to us more, that's fine. We can let him
John,
go.
we'll give you the option. If you want to hang out, you
Yep.
can. If not, good night.
All right. Well, thanks. I don't think I have much to add, so I'll take off. But thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, John.
All right. So next up is a septic system upgrade for 5 Cottage Court. We've got Bob Bay from BIG Septic and Norfolk Engineering. Bob is on the line.
here.
Hi, Bob. So they're
Hi.
requesting to allow the soil absorption system to be designed and constructed without a percolation test as allowed by DEP policy. So Andy, if you would just read that variance
Okay, the variance,
preamble into
okay.
the record.
Variance hearing from the Board of Health Regulations is called to order for 5 Cottage Court. It is my duty to inform you that you will have to provide the Board of Health a request for a waiver of Board of Health requirement. And then if you do not receive the waiver, you will also have to show that what you have to do is acceptable. And Bob, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Okay, I have a existing 3-bedroom dwelling located at 5 Cottage Court, and it currently has a failed cesspool. I have a plan showing a 1,500-gallon tank, a distribution box, and an Elgin SAS. The only thing I'm asking for is a local upgrade approval to use a sieve test in lieu of a perk test. The groundwater was too high. We weren't able to perform it on site. Besides that, I've property lines, well locations. I'm okay with everything else.
Okay. Okay. Matt, your thoughts or your review?
Yeah, we were out there, I think about a week and a half ago, and as I stated a little bit earlier in the meeting, our groundwater is extremely high, which is a good thing to confirm our high groundwater. We usually just can use models and redox in the soils, but we actually have high water. But as such, we were not able to perform a percolation test, so we did take soil samples and they were analyzed. I reviewed the plan. I have no issues with the way it's been proposed. As Mr. Bay had said, that they are using an Elgin system for the field, which similar to the Presby on the prior variance hearing, does allow for that reduction to groundwater separation. And they are still meeting the Mass DEP's approvals for groundwater separation with use of that. Soils are consistent with what we saw in the field with how the sieve came back. So I have no issues with the variance request as proposed.
Okay.
I will say This is also a failed septic that's been on our radar for some time, and actually just recently followed up with the homeowner to get the process moving. So I'm happy to see that this is being done in a timely fashion.
Bob, can I just ask, how many toilets are in the house now?
I don't know. I believe there's 3.
3, okay. Okay. I just find it fascinating with the time I've spent in town and seeing some of these homes that are in need of repairs. They have septic, that have cesspools that they're usually limited to 1 toilet on them. But if there's 3, that's fine. But that seems, that's pretty impressive. So, okay. Do the other members have any comments, questions?
I do not.
Me neither.
Okay, thank you. So, Matt, any final comments, or are you all set?
No, I'm all set. They'll, similar to the prior variance, they'll also have to have the recording with the Registry of Deeds for the innovative and alternative technology system. And that is also noted on the plan as well.
That's what I was going to add, that I have noted that on the plan.
Okay. If there's no more discussions, no more questions, I get a motion to close the hearing and provide the approval for this system upgrade.
Sure, I'll put forth a motion to close the hearing and approve the variance, or the whatever we're calling it, at 5 Cottage.
I second the motion.
All in favor, say aye. Andy Bakunowski, aye.
Liz Gephardt, aye.
Christy Burns, aye.
Mhm.
Okay, that's it. Thank you,
All
Bob.
right. Thank you, Bob.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Next on the list is meeting minutes for our January 23rd meeting. Christy was not there, so Andy and Liz can vote on that if you are ready to do so.
I can make a motion to accept the minutes as written for January 2024 meeting.
Okay, and I'll second that. So, and all in favor, say aye. Andy Bakunowski, aye.
Liz Gephardt, aye.
Okay, we're good.
Perfect. So the only other agenda item is Liz has a conflict with the March 26th meeting, so do you
Me
want-
too.
Okay, all righty. Well, we're definitely going to reschedule then.
I land at 7:15, so I feel like it will be hard to make that call.
Yeah, especially if your flight gets delayed, that's not going to work, right? Like Matt said, we have 2 variance hearings for coming up, one for 294 Main Street. And what was the other one, Matt? Can't remember. I know I've got 2 of them.
Is it 292, or is that the
Mm.
one that was today?
Yeah, we just approved 294 for 292
Yes.
next door.
292 coming up, and then it's the other one I have yet to do the perk for on Lakeshore, is it?
Oh, okay. All right. I knew you had said that there was another one coming, so.
Yeah, they're gonna try to get that perk and plan into me before the deadline.
Is that another alternative to perk?
To be determined. I think they're gonna have a possible well and maybe a property line. It's gonna be my best guess.
Okay. Do we have any other proposed dates? What's the
I can do the Tuesday, the 19th, or the Wednesday, the 27th.
Yep, I could do either of those.
you want to shoot for Wednesday?
If we can do the Wednesday, that would be better for me because I'm going to be in Maine on that Tuesday, and
Mhm.
I'm not sure how long it's gonna take me to get back, because I've already been there twice in the past couple months and it's been,
Okay, so Matt, do you have any conflicts with Wednesday, March 27th?
What time are we doing the meeting? 7?
7? Do you have another meeting?
I do. I'll do my best to hop on for the variances if that
Well,
works.
we can work around. Do you want to shoot for what about Tuesday, April 2nd?
I could, that one I can do. I was looking at my calendar. I can do that one. I can do. But you know, if you want to try and keep them monthly, if we, or any other days during the week that work for other members and during March, or
I could do Monday, the 25th.
That works for me.
I can't. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Away.
okay. But the Wednesday, the 27th,
That's what we were just talking about.
I can
Matt
probably,
can't
I
do
just
that.
can't 100% guarantee, but I should be able to jump on at least for quick to give my comments.
do you just have conflicting?
I have a
Times.
conflicting commitment that night.
Gotcha. Okay. How about Thursday? Nothing, or,
Thursday, I can't do.
okay,
How about back to Tuesday, April 2nd?
okay, if that's what it is, and, you know, we'll see what the workload is, and see if we have another meeting at the end of the month.
That might actually be better for that other variance here and give them an extra week, especially if there's property lines.
Yeah,
Okay,
everybody's good with that?
Yep.
Okay, Tuesday, April 2nd. That sounds great. All right. I have nothing else.
okay. Well, guess that's it. We good?
Anybody else?
Any
Any other-
comments? Questions? Okay, good. Okay, let's adjourn, motion to adjourn then, I guess.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
All in favor, say
Second.
aye. A second, sorry.
Aye.
Okay, I'm just frazzled with this. It's,
Well, I'm frazzled too because that fiasco with the planning board meeting, now they've got to reschedule it. I don't know what happened.
Oh, they weren't able to do it?
They had to reschedule it. Yeah. Anyway,
technology.
yeah, well, they're gonna have to do it without me next week too, because I'm in Disney World.
Well,
All right, have a good night, everybody.
thank you, guys.
All
Take
right,
care.
good night.